Yeah.
It's like
Gunslinger.
Hexblade, but for guns.
No, I get it. It was what's his name? Played the character Percy in the first.
Yeah, that was a full fighter though.
Wasn't it a mixture of a fighter, but he also, part of the story is he had the hex curse?
Yeah, because it was a homebrew that they did because they changed systems. In the homebrew game, I think they were doing Pathfinder, and then when they went to the stream, they switched to D&D 5e, and Matt and Taliesin worked together to homebrew the Pathfinder class into D&D 5e, so that his character would have a lot of the same abilities, but they had to tweak it and tune it. And sometimes you would see in that first series where every now and then they would make a reference to, yeah, we tweaked this ability because we decided it was either overpowered or underpowered or wasn't quite hitting right for the balance of the rest of the party. Oh, and viewers, welcome to pre-show for Walker of Waterdeep. The music you are hearing is from Sirenscape. Right now, the track that I have up is from the sound set WGW Across the Accursed Sands. This is camp music. So hopefully you guys are hearing that in the background. And then players, if you want to hear the music on the stream, you can always go to the Discord, click on the little red live badge next to my name, and then that will allow you to stream the sound of the music in your headsets or your speakers, depending on how you listen. And then you can independently control the volume on your end so that you make it a little bit louder or a little bit softer, depending on whether it's distracting to you or not. I will be turning the music down when we actually start the session. All right. Well, speaking of the beginning of our session, I'm going to turn the music down a little bit and say welcome everybody to the Walker of Waterdeep. We've been away for a few weeks, and it's good to get back. Our players are drifting into the Discord and into the Roll20. And we are in a brand new plane. We did a portal, went through a portal last time, and transferred from the friendly confines of Waterdeep to the mysterious world of Rukh. And I'm going to bring our play map up for everybody. And as you can see, this is Rukh, and the region of the world that the PCs are in is an area called the Tablelands. And they are right now in this little circle. They're in a place called the Hidden Village, which is not far away from a major city of Janun. And Janun is the city where they have to go. But the Hidden Village serves as something of a staging ground for them. And players, for your benefit, I have created a few handouts. And yes, a few handouts that I wanted to share with you today in order to sort of set the scene for you. The first is a handout of the Hidden Village itself, which should be appearing on your screen now.
Yep.
This kind of gives you a little bit of an idea of what this village looks like. This is artwork from the art station, and the artist is Hannah Chen. It's just a piece. I think it's based on a place that she visited in Morocco or something like that. But just a really nice little desert sort of village. Kind of gives you the vibe of what it feels like to be in the Hidden Village here. This little desert village nestled up high in the mountains. And then you met and talked to a few different people last week, or last session, I should say, not last week. And want to give you a bit of a visual on them. First of all, the person that met you was, when you teleported in, was a gentleman named Manir. And Manir is a human, and he is a desert nomad. And so, the people who go out across these deserts, they often have these robes that, depending on the area where you are, if you're sort of in the reddish, rocky desert areas, those robes will be more reddish. If you're in kind of a sandy area, they'll probably be more tan, lighter, darker, whatever, just sort of blending in. And then as your friends at the outfitter store back in the Calamshite outfitter store back in Waterdeep told you, if you're out in the high dunes at night, you want something that blends in more with the sky than with the ground, because you will stand out if somebody is looking across the horizon. You'll stand out more if you clash with the deep, dark, midnight blue of the sky than you will if you clash with the reflected moonlight off of the sand.
All right.
So, that is... All right, come on, here you. Oh, that's right, I can't. Can I close that? Oh, come on. Come on, you. All right, now this. All right, stream my.
Misbehaving.
Yes, it's on my streaming computer. I'm not able to clear the thing. So I'm going to refresh my Roll20 on that machine, and hopefully that makes it go away. Alright, there we go. That finally cleared it. Okay, the next person that you guys met is you met the leader of the hidden village. And the leader of the hidden village is a gentleman who goes by the name of Sindbad. And at the time you meet him, Sindbad is an older man, very much has enjoyed his food and his drink, and he's a very large gentleman. But there are some images of a much younger man that, the nose and the eyes are a little bit similar, and it looks like the guy was something of a hero in his younger days. And so this is one of the paintings that you see of Sindbad. And the story behind this painting, one of the other members of the village council will tell you, is that when he was a young man recently escaped from slavery in the city of Junoon, he and a group of people he was traveling with were attacked by a siltworm. And Sindbad was able to slay the siltworm by stabbing it in the heart. And this is supposedly a representation of him crawling on the siltworm to find its heart and stab it. So that is the hero Sindbad from the Hidden Village. And then another person that you met was a person who is a recent refugee from the city of Junoon. Someone who had, up until very recently, had been a senator there. And this senator has been put into exile by King, the sorcerer king there, a king named Suleiman. And this is Senator, or former Senator, Abu Jafar. And Abu Jafar has some physical ailments, and those physical ailments apparently did not show up until he decided to go against the wishes of the king. So all of the stories that you've heard about this king is that he's not a very nice guy. And it, that could be evidenced by the way he treats other people, and by the fact that he encourages slavery and has conscripted all the slaves to build his pet project and whatnot. And then, just to give you a little bit of an idea of the other races other than humans that you deal with, you met some elves, some dwarves, and some halflings. And here is an image of an elf of Rukh. Whoops. I have to show it to you first. This is an image of an elf of Rukh. So they kind of look like these guys. They're very much it's probably like if you took the wood elves of Toril, you stretched them a little bit to make them quite a bit taller, and then you took them out of their forest and threw them into a desert for 1,000 years. This is probably what they would eventually become. And so that's sort of what the elves of Rukh are like. And then you guys met some dwarves, And of course, Adamant immediately recognized, yeah, they kind of have the same morphology as dwarves. The very strong build, stocky things, but no hair on their heads, no beards on their chins. Very rough and tumble sort of looking people. So this is a dwarf of Rukh. And then the halflings of Rukh are, of course, quite a bit different than the halflings you are used to in Toril. These halflings have a look that is something like the look of human children in terms of their stature and their features, but they are a very violent and warlike and efficient people. They don't let anything go to waste, including the corpses of their defeated enemies. And for that matter, the corpses of their elders when they die. So that is a little bit about Rukh and the place you are, and a little bit of an orientation there. So I'm going to go over here, and I think the last time that we were here, the last place you guys were was in the in the home of Sindbad, breaking bread, having dinner with some people. And so let's see. So yeah. So you guys were there, and okay, there it goes. All right. So there's a little hubbub of the sound of the town outside as you guys are breaking bread. And so you had met of several people. They were telling you a little bit about the village and a little bit about their world. And you had started to have dinner, and this dinner consists of some exotic meats, exotic from your point of view. Then there's also some root vegetables. There's very few green vegetables. Not very many leafy vegetables. Most of the vegetables that they grow are things that remind you of like potatoes or carrots or beets or other things that either are tubers or that grow underground from the standpoint of the actual edible part of the vegetable. Because of course, while there's plenty of sunlight here, it is a desert, and there's not a whole lot of rain to water crops with. And so Sindbad will be talking to you all, and he will say, well, I know that you all will need a little bit of time to get used to our climate here, but tell me, are there any initial questions that you have about our village here, or about the mission that brings you here that we might be able to answer for you.
Adam kind of looks at the others.
Mm-mm. No, I don't have any questions. Just waiting to see what happens. Where we go from here.
Your Blackstaff, as I understand, your Blackstaff has told you that there is some danger with casting traditional arcane spells here in this world. Yes.
Yes.
Well, now let me assure you that the spellcasters here in Rukh, we are of two different major philosophies. There are the preservers, and there are the defilers. Now, the defilers, they are the ones that, over thousands and thousands of years, have been responsible for turning this world largely into a desert. All of the lands that you see to the east of this area we call the Tablelands, it is written that long, long ago, that was once a vast ocean, and that this was the coastline of that ocean. And in fact, if you go far out into the desert, you will find bones of fishes that are in the sands. So we know that at one time there was this water, but these defilers, they cast their spells, and it draws the energy from the living plant life around it, draws that energy out of their roots up through their leaves, saps the moisture from the plants, and makes the soil infertile. It cannot support more plant life. And of course, if there are no plants, they cannot be the animals that eat the plants. And then without the animals that eat the plants, the animals that eat other animals, well, they soon develop a taste for things that walk on two legs, as well as things that creep on four legs. So, it makes this a very, very dangerous place. Now, those of us that are preservers, we have learned to harness the power of our minds. And we have also learned that there is a mineral that is fortunately very plentiful here on Rukh. A mineral called obsidian. Are you familiar with this?
Yes, that's a black shiny rock.
Yes, it is. The big man with the big axe looks very similar to the blade of your axe. Tell me, do you know what that blade is made from?
I believe it's obsidian.
Oh, I see. We've caught the big man with his mouth full of food. Thank you, Adamant, for answering for him. Yes, I'm glad you enjoy the food there, friend. And so he says, yes, now, a chunk of obsidian will do, but what our preservers have learned over many generations is that if we sand or we form the obsidian into a tiny globe, a polished globe of obsidian. That works best as a focus. And we have been working, and we have created several of these globes for each of you, because we did not know how many of you rely on the power of the arcane for your spells, and how many of you rely on the power of the elements, or the power of these gods that the Blackstaff told us of in our communications. We are not familiar with these gods, but she says they are entities that live beyond your plane and can stretch out their influence and provide parts of their energy for you to tap into and cast your magic. This is a strange concept to us. The closest thing we have is the primal elemental powers that allow our druids here to cast their magic. They call upon the great desert spirits, the spirits of fire and of earth and of air and of water.
Added to pats Elora on the head. Is that what we heard?
So you're familiar with this magic as well?
Yes.
Okay, good. Well, I will not ask you today, but we do have several practitioners set aside of our form of mental spellcasting that will be available for you to help to teach you the rudiments of this over the next few days. We think that if you are already an accomplished spellcaster, it is a bit of a learning process, but in our experience with visitors from other realms that have wished to avoid being classed as a defiler, and have also wished to avoid the attention that being a defiler draws, because we told you about these elemental spirits. These elemental spirits, they're also something of protectors of the world, and they are very attuned to arcane magic. So when arcane magic is used, there is a very high probability that one of these protectors will become aware of it. And if they do not take a liking to you, there can be bad consequences from that. So they can send some of their devoted followers, or even some creatures that are aspects of themselves, after you.
Is this to the obsidian that you used to cast your magic? Is it
Yes?
used up in the process?
No, it is not. It is a permanent focus, but we do observe when people are first learning, whether they are natives here to Rukh or whether they are visitors from other worlds. There is sometimes when a casting goes awry, the obsidian globe can shatter. Once the globe shatters, it is no longer usable as a focus. So we have learned, when we have newcomers or when we have young people that are first trying to learn spellcasting, we always have several of these obsidian globes for them. It is a rare occurrence that it shatters, but it does happen. You would not want to be in the middle of, let's say, a combat and have your You have your focus shatter, and then you not have another focus handy to be able to continue casting your spells.
That would be unfortunate.
Yes. Yes, it
May-
would be.
May I ask? I'm
Certainly.
not quite sure. My magic of a sense is when I sing or I play music. Would that be considered witchcraft, or I'm not quite sure how the obsidian orb would work with that.
Most
Okay, out of character.
Mm-hmm.
Bards have an understanding, bards from Toril have an understanding that they tap into the weave of magic,
Okay.
but instead of doing mystical incantations and using written sigils and things like that, there are ways that they can craft tunes or craft poems or craft chants or whatever that will weave this. So they understand it as a form of arcane casting. That is, so it's more similar to what sorcerers and warlocks and wizards do, and not the same type of thing that either clerics and paladins do with divine magic, or that druids and rangers do with more more of the nature magic.
Gotcha.
So yeah,
I guess I'm trying to figure out, if I were to sing or play or whatever and cast my magic that way, how that would be construed or considered here.
Yeah, and Sindbad will, in character, Sindbad will respond to you this way. He will say, well, we do have those who use chants and the songs of instruments to create magical effects, and they can learn to channel that through the obsidian as well. If you play an instrument, a lot of times they like to affix the globe to their instrument and have it that way where it can be visually a focus for them. But we have discovered that even if you put it into, or put it around like a leather thong and hang it from your neck and let it rest against your skin, and it works equally well as a focus that way.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you for explaining that. That's a little bit off my mind.
Oh, yes. When you have a bit of practice, you will find that you will be able to do all of the same spells that you normally do, and they will have the same effects that you normally expect. It's just that you will be using a slightly different method of casting them. And because you are learning well, there may be a mishap from time to time, but usually nothing major other than a spell fizzling, and you have to try again. So,
Okay, thank you.
in very rare occurrences, people will report they feel very tired after they have had a mishap with the spell. But it is that is usually very rare. I would not worry too much about that.
Very well.
I guess Aya would speak up and he'd be like, what if you wanted to use a magical item that has quite a bit of obsidian in it already?
Do you mean using it as a focus for your spells?
Yes, while you're here on this plane.
Well, let me ask, are you accustomed to using it as a focus already for your spellcasting?
Out of character, I guess I am, right?
Have we established that it well, now you're not a wizard, so you don't really use a focus per se. Your magic comes to you. It's arcane magic, but it comes to you from a different, by different means because of your blend of classes.
Yeah, I thought it was kind of like the sword was kind of a focus in the aspect that it allowed my deity to bless upon me the ability to cast the spells that I do cast.
I think your spellcasting ability actually arose before you got the sword, but yes, it does. It does kind of. Well, you were able to cast cantrips and other types of things before you got the sword, right?
Oh, was I?
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess I did. Yeah.
Yeah, because that's part of your monk background. So,
right.
Yeah.
But it was weird because it was just from my two houses of.
Right.
Yeah. Which that might have been a misplay by my part if I was doing that too early.
No, because it was all stuff that was part of what was available in the in your class and subclass that you had. All right, so what he will say to you is he will say, "This is a question that is unknown to me. We have not encountered anybody that has such an artifact. You can try it. I would suggest trying it with very minor magics at first and see if it functions the same way. You may find that if it's a piece of obsidian that you're already used to, that your mind has somehow already become attuned to the way it channels the flow of whatever the source of the magic is. We know it comes from the mind. We know that it relies on the power of the mind of the caster. But we are unsure of the exact mechanics by which it works. We just know that over many, many generations of testing, when people have tried a polished cube of obsidian, it does not work as well as a polished sphere of obsidian. So we do not quite understand this. It would be very interesting to see how much success you have with the item that you already know. That would have to count for something, I would believe.
Galibar says, "Has anybody tried to use a giant axe that's head is made out of obsidian?" And he pulls Willow Roar out of his bag of holding.
He says, "No, we have not. Nobody has tried that with a weapon. It would be interesting to see." Now, out of character, I believe there was a discussion last week that as a paladin, your magic is divinely sourced, and so therefore you and Adamant, as the divine casters, would not have basically any adjustment to the way you cast spells, because as long as you find that you can tap into Bahamut and tap into Moradin reliably here, then there would be no need for you to learn this unless you just wanted to.
I just remember you saying that this might not be the only plane that we have that we would use.
Correct.
Use psionic
Yes.
in. So
yes. So, which is why, as I was developing the system, I was trying to develop something that you guys might decide, okay, I could use this as potentially an alternate power source for casting spells. So all 5 of you are welcome to try this. Oh, somebody's getting some electronic feedback there. So all 5 of you are welcome to try it if you want.
Adamant will try it just because it would make sense to kind of make people think he's casting arcane.
Okay.
Enka will definitely, be intrigued and willing to try it. She kind of looks him over and goes, and how long do we have that we're allowed to try to manifest or master this?
Well, as the senator told us, it is 25 days until the Millennial Ascension Games that King Suleiman is holding. And so we believe that whatever you all intend to do, that may require going into Junoon and retrieving anything from there, you have to try to do it within 25 days. Tomorrow, I will be hosting a meeting with some people that are part of a group called the Veiled Alliance. And the Veiled Alliance has a plan that uses the event of the Millennial Ascension Games. And I am thinking that perhaps their plan and yours might be complementary. So, I am hoping that you all will be able to attend that meeting and hear what they have to say. It may give you some ideas. But you have at least 20 days to practice.
Are we just at a country estate, or are we near a city?
Neither. On your map here, you are in a village that is halfway between. It's halfway between the city of Junoon, which is right here, and these iron mines. And it's actually probably where the G is in Ringing Mountains. It's probably more like off there. So it's not like right on that pathway.
So how many miles are we basically from the city?
How many miles are we from the... let's see if I... it's 33 miles for a square. You're probably maybe 20 miles from the city.
Okay. I kind of look them over and go, are we allowed to go to Junoon before we are allowed to start training, or do we have to stay here until... I wouldn't mind going and seeing the city before we make any...
And the senator will get a little bit nervous when you talk about going to the city. And he will I am not sure about the wisdom of this plan. You, of course, must decide things for yourselves, but it is a very dangerous place. Right now, everyone who enters the city gates is under high scrutiny by the guards at the gates. Those who are deemed to be there with not much official business and no connections to the noble houses which can protect them, they are just as likely to be allowed to walk into the city as they are to be arrested on some trumped up charge at the gate and conscripted as slaves to build the Sorcerer King's ziggurat.
Oh, okay.
So it may not be a wise thing to just wander into the city without having a well thought out disguise, a very well detailed plan, and a very good story for the guards of why you are there and what you are doing.
Well,
And of course, having a little bit of iron to bribe the guards with would go a long way.
I am a blacksmith.
Oh, you're a blacksmith.
Indeed.
Well, do not tell the guards that.
Yes,
you would be in high demand. You would be one of the first to be conscripted to work on the ziggurat. While the ziggurat is made of bricks, there is much construction. Many of the dressings and the connectors and the fasteners are all made of the precious iron.
He pulls out his box, the box of tools that he got in Kamigawa. And puts it in one of the bag of holdings. I will just put this. Yeah.
Yes, that would be good. And Sindbad says, I am glad that you have mentioned this. Your name, I believe, is Enka. You told us your name was Enka. He is looking at Enka. He says this, making sure that he's got your name right. And he says, I will have our friends in the Veiled Alliance work with you on perhaps a good cover story. If you plan to do some reconnaissance in the city of Juneau, that will help you avoid any unwanted complications when you go there.
Sorry.
All right. And then he does offer you each a small sack. It's basically like a small leather sack, and the sacks are kind of bulging with little round objects. And as you get them, it's a very it's a leather type of skin, but it's a type of leather that you're not familiar with. It's a very sheer and smooth and sort of thin leather that makes up these sacks. And as you untie them and look inside, each one of them has 5 obsidian spheres in there. And they vary in size slightly, but they range from about 1.5 inches to 2 inches in diameter. And so Sindbad will say, hey, these will be items that you can use while you are practicing the craft of learning psionic magic in the coming days.
I have a question for you.
Certainly.
Do you find it difficult to make these?
Actually, no. The iron mine where we that we are now working since the king has abandoned it. The iron mine has gobs and gobs and gobs of obsidian. These mountains here that are now just ancient rock. They were at one time a very long ridge of volcanic mountains, and so they are just chock full of obsidian from the ancient volcanic times. And it comes out in great hunks, and our artisans are able to chip off pieces, and then we are able to grind them into these spheres that you see.
How long does it take to grind them?
We can grind one of these spheres in probably 2 weeks. It's not long.
Do you have one of those big hunks handy?
Yes. I'm sure if you go to the market, you can find those. You can find plenty of those for the mere cost of some copper pennies.
Well, I'm more thinking helping our new ally. Kind of gestures at him.
Well, what do you have in mind, sir?
Oh, I can make you quite a few of these in about 10 minutes.
10 minutes? 10 minutes, you say?
Indeed.
That is something I would be very interested in seeing. And then he will snap his fingers, and one of his household people that kind of is serving the dinner will come in, and he will whisper to the person, and that person will scurry off. And he says, I have sent one of my servants to find several pounds of this obsidian. I would be interested in seeing this. And so the dinner goes on, and then after a bit, the person comes back, and the person is carrying a laden backpack. And this backpack has, he's just full of chunks of obsidian, probably about 25 pounds of chunks of obsidian. And some of those chunks are, barely larger than 1.5 inches, and some of them are up to like 5-6 inches across. They're just like, and of course they're all just rough, broken up, and chipped the way you would expect obsidian to be.
All right, he is going to put them in a container, just dump them all in,
Okay.
kind of rub his hands together, and he is going to use the fabrication spell and just make a whole bunch of them.
Okay. Calling on the
Power of Moradin.
Calling on the power of Moradin. You call on Moradin's power, and it's there. And at first it seems very distant and faint. But then as you focus, you feel it coming to you. It's almost like you're reaching out, and Moradin was expecting you to be in one place, and now you're somewhere else, and it's like,
what's he doing over there? Okay,
yeah, oh, there you are, yeah. And then it comes in more clearly.
And there's not going to be any left over. Like there would be if they're grinding. There's not going to be any wastage. It's just going to turn everything into the spears.
Okay. So you do that, and you say this takes about 10 minutes?
Yep, fabrication takes 10 minutes.
And what do they see as you are performing this ritual?
It would just seem like it's melting into uniform-sized orbs, and it just be neatly stacked in a box.
Okay. And as you are
melts down and reforms into the orbs.
Yeah. As you are performing this ritual, Sindbad, he stares at your face for a little bit, but then he begins looking at a container, and then everybody else can see his eyes start to get a little bit wider, and they get a little bit wider as it looks like this is melting down. And then some of the other people that are there, they begin murmuring to one another and looking over, and pretty soon all of the people from Rukh are just kind of leaning and craning their necks and everything, looking at that container that Adamant has in front of him. And there's some little gasps as that obsidian just starts to form itself into spherical shapes. And I'll say that, you wind up making, we'll say with 25 pounds of obsidian, you make 25 perfect little spheres that are all they're all of a uniform size. So they are polished to such a perfect spherical shape that they're definitely more spherical than the spheres that each of you have in the little sacks that you were given, because those are ground, but they're clearly ground by hand.
Yeah,
and they're it's definitely the work of skilled artisans. But even extremely skilled artisans, they get tired, and it's like one part of the sphere is a little flatter than the other part of the sphere, and maybe if you set it down, it kind of wants to roll one way, and it's a little bit heavier one way than another. These are just perfectly balanced, perfectly round, perfect looking spheres. And when you finish, Sindbad says, "My goodness, how How can that be?
It is one of the magical spells I am granted by my god of Moradin. He is the dwarven god of creation.
And one of the other dwarves of Rukh will look at you and say, "I've never heard of this, Moradin."
He is
Please.
of our world, of our realm. But I would be glad to sit down and tell you all about him.
Galibar will say, from what I know about our they seem to know who my god was, but by possibly a different name. So you might know who Moradin is, just not by that name.
And the dwarf looks at you, and he shakes his head sadly, and he says, "It is written that, well, it is told in stories among my people that at one time there were gods here that looked after the world of Rukh. But it is said that they forsook this world, and they all died. Or some stories say that they were slain by the defilers.
Well,
we have no gods here.
My god is more than willing to reach out to here, and I will be glad to sit down and speak with all anybody interested.
So you say it was your deity,
indeed,
that granted you the power to do this.
He is going to move his cloak so they can see the side of his chest. It has the holy symbol of Moradin on it. And that's when everybody would notice that he's been covered in dwarven runes, inked in adamantine.
Ooh.
And that his holy symbol would be outlined in it. All that good stuff.
Oh. This is the name of your god in its mystical language?
Yes. As well as many prayers and chants.
Moradin, god of creation. Oh. Well, then may he grant that we can create something better from this world than what we have now. It is a true hell. And okay, go ahead.
Can you read these dwarven runes? He's gonna just like gesture like one of the prayers that he's got like on his arm. I don't know if your dwarven language matches that. That's just the one to title.
Yeah, he looks at it and he turns his head to the side and he says, none of those symbols look familiar. I do not know how to read the language of my people, but I know what its symbols look like. These do not have the same shape or form.
The dwarvish language is written the exact same way for dwarves, giants, gnomes, goblins, orcs. Yeah. And it's the same script as Primordial.
Yes. In Toril, that is true, and in some of the D&D settings, that's true. But we're kind of in a Magic the Gathering setting, so may not be true there.
Nope.
He doesn't recognize the symbols.
He pulls out something written in common. What about this? Can you read this?
And you pass that around, and some of the people, Sindbad, he looks at it and goes, "Oh yes," and Abu Jafar, or no, not Abu Abu Jafar, the senator, he looks at it and he can read it, and the elf can read it, but Munir and the dwarf and the halfling, they cannot read it because they say they're not able to read the language of their people.
Okay.
So common is apparently common everywhere.
All right. Well, I'll have to find something that you can read, and I can copy the manuscripts I have.
Oh, that would be wonderful. There are some members of my people here in the hidden village. Some of the merchants, they are able to read. They read the common. If you tell them some of the stories of Moradin, they can tell the rest of us of the dwarven folk here about these stories of the deity in other worlds.
I would be glad to.
Very good. And then Sindbad will say, "Well, my friends, I have been blessed to have a very large house, and my wife, may her soul rest, has passed on. My children are all grown and scattered across the tablelands. So we have plenty of accommodations here under my roof. It would honor me greatly if you would accept my hospitality and take rooms in my house for the night. You can stay here as long as you are in the hidden village."
I just need a small corner.
Oh, well, that is fine. The rest of you, are there any special requirements that you have for your sleeping arrangements?
No, I'm good just about anywhere.
I'm all right. I'm pretty good at not needing a whole lot. So thank you for the offer, though. As long as we just have a place to sleep.
Yes, the entire third floor of my house. I have prepared it as guest quarters. There are some individual rooms for sleeping, and there is an area where you can relax together, or take your meals together, or you can come and, of course, take the meals with myself and my friends from the village here on the main floor.
Thank you. We will consider that. We will. What time is out of character? What time is it in the day? Or
It's starting to get towards evening. The as the afternoon wears on, of course, there's a period of time where it gets very hot outside. It stays relatively cool inside. But now, as the sun sort of sets in the west behind the mountains, almost as soon as the shadow of the mountains comes across, and you can kind of sense it getting a little bit darker outside, you can feel like a very cool wind,
Gotcha.
a breeze more. It's not a heavy wind, but it's more of a cool breeze that begins to come into the house.
Gotcha.
And it's been comfortable during the day, but you get the impression that it might get kind of cool here at night.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, I kind of look at the rest of the group and kind of go, are we going to talk about this, or are we going to just try to go to sleep and work on stuff in the morning, or what?
I would suggest you get some rest. I feel like it's probably going to be grueling training in its own way.
I agree.
Yes.
Well, then we shall take our leave to go catch some rest, and we will see you on the morrow.
Very well. Very well.
And she gets up to go make her way towards the stairs to head off.
Okay.
I'm gonna go take a look around. I'm interested in the construction around here.
When you say look around, you're going to look around the house or look
the village.
Oh, the village. Okay. If you say that you want to look around the village, the Sindbad will have somebody in his household offer to show you around.
I don't want to put anybody out.
Oh, it is not a problem at all.
All right. As long as it's not a problem.
Okay. Now, is there anybody else other than Adamant that wants to go have a look around the village?
Well, I do, but I figured maybe we just, anyway, go ahead.
You guys, hey, if you guys want to all go, that's great. If some of you want to stay in the house and have a conversation, others of you want to go on the village, we can hop back and forth between the groups. It's up to you guys. I just want you all to decide what how you want to do that. I don't want to decide it for you.
Are you there again?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're kind of our de facto leader in some sense.
Is that true, huh?
Well, at least that's the way I look at it, so...
Oh, so speak up and he's like, all right. Adamant, if you're going to look around, I will join you.
Alright, that's fine. I was just going to look around, do adamant things, adamant places.
That's fine, but I think while we're here, we must practice the buddy system.
I will not argue with that.
Well, all right. I suppose I can go too. I kind of wanted to see what they had for shops around here, if they had anything.
All right.
I'll go too.
All right. So you are put into the capable hands of since four of you at least, and we'll just say that Elora will go along as well. So since all five of you are going along, you are put into the capable hands of two of the household servants. One is called Fuad, and he is seems to function as something of a butler. Servants of Sindbad's household. Okay, so Fuad is a butler, and then one of the someone who seems to act as something like a concierge for the guests is a woman. She is a little bit younger. These are both humans, and whoops. All right, so Fuad is a little bit older, has salt and pepper hair, very sun-darkened skin, and Nusaiba. Nusaiba is the concierge, and she has slightly lighter skin, and you can tell that from about her eyebrows down to about the bridge of her nose and across the upper part of her cheeks, her complexion is slightly darker than the rest of the skin of her face and the skin of her arms and everything. And her hands are slightly darker than the skin of her arms. And so as you all get ready to go out into the village, they both put on headgear. His looks more like a kind of a turban that has like a piece of cloth that hangs down across his back, more to like protect the back of his neck. And she wears more of a full head covering that covers her nose and her mouth, and everything kind of around her head. And it's not built up like a turban. It's just more where it goes right across her hair, and then comes down with veils kind of along the sides of her face as well as along her back. But they both wear these long robed things. That's the typical garments that you see here. And they will take you out of the house, and they will say, is there anything in particular you would like to see in our city?
I would like to see the shops, talk to the merchants.
Yes.
Me too.
Oh, okay. Okay. We have trades here. There's, of course, not as many shops here as there are in the grand city of Junoon.
Yes, but we can't reach Junoon right now.
Yes, the senator speaks truly. It is now most of us, of course, do not want to go to Junoon because most of us here in this village, either ourselves or our parents, were slaves that escaped slavery in Junoon, and we have come here because this offers us a haven and a refuge. So I understand as visitors, you might be more interested in seeing the large city, but for us it has very bad memories. But we have everything that we need here. Well, come. I will show you. Shall I start with some of the merchants that deal in weaponry?
I would be very interested in that. Yes.
Okay, very good, very good. And
meanwhile, Enka's just kind of like, yeah, okay. Care less.
That figures.
She'll just hang out with the rest of them, looking bored.
That's Enka on the head.
So as they go along, they will tell you that primarily the peoples of the desert, because of the fact that there are so few resources, everything gets used. And the most precious commodities here in the Tablelands area are iron, which is considered the most valuable metal in the world. It commands the highest price of any metal because it is relatively rare, and therefore what you'll find is that a lot of the weapons, as you start to head into one of the weapon shops, most of the weapons are actually made out of bone. And there are now it's bone that has been treated and is extremely hard and is not nearly as brittle as the bone that you guys are used to. Coming from, if you've seen primitive tribes or primitive areas of Toril where they use bone weapons, those break relatively easily. With these, they have a hardness that's almost like they have somehow been treated by some kind of magic. But the artisans will, they will tell you it's very much a mechanical process. There's, some different kinds of salts and some different kinds of treatments that they do. It involves boiling and boiling in an emulsion that includes a bunch of different kinds of salts and other minerals and things like that are dissolved in the solution. And, depending on what kind of weapon they are trying to make, they will boil them for shorter or longer times. And then, depending on whether they're making something that needs to have flexibility, like a bow, they will use different kinds of emulsions. So, and then the accents of these weapons, like the grips and the decoration and everything, is all pretty much done with treated leather. So the skins of animals and the sinews of animals and things like that. You find very little that's made out of wood. It's all kind of bone and leather and sinew that is used to create the weapons here in this area. Now, they will tell you that if you're interested in metal weapons, you can purchase iron weapons in Junoon. But those are incredibly expensive. And the prices that you see here in markets here, these are all kind of mundane weapons, and they're about the same price that you would pay in the player's handbook. So, and they have the same durability as weapons that you would buy out of the player's handbook, but instead of being made out of steel and wood, they're made out of bone and leather and sinew.
Now, the 300 gold pieces worth of weaponry Galibar has in his bag of holding right now, would those be made out of the typical iron and steel that from our world?
Oh, they would be. Yes. Yes, they would be.
Galibar will go over to the weapon merchants, and he'll start with he'll pull out. See what they're all simple weapons. So let me check with the. He'll pull out a mace. A mace that's made out of metal.
Metal and wood.
Huh?
It's metal and wood.
Yeah. So he'll pull out the mace and present it to the shopkeepers, and will say, I hear that you guys value metal and metal weapons quite a bit. Would you be willing to, say, trade or possibly purchase them from me for probably much cheaper than they would be sold for in Junoon?
And the person you're talking to, the blunt weapons merchant, will say that his name is Majid. So we'll call him the blunt weapons merchant in the hidden village. And Majid will say, "Oh, that is a magnificent weapon. Oh, may I see it, please?" He holds out his hand.
Yeah, Galibar will gently place it in his hands, as if it is really worth that much.
And he looks at it. His eyes just are wide, and he turns it very slowly in his hands, and he just glides a hand along the haft of it, almost like he's caressing a lover. And he
That's not creepy or anything.
He examines the head of the mace very, very closely. He looks at it, and then he sort of closes his eyes as he feels along the curve of the mace. And it's kind of that thing when you close your eyes because you're concentrating, and you kind of get the impression like he's just trying to. It's almost like he thinks he can feel the quality of the weapon by just touching it. And and then he turns it a little bit, and he then tests the balance of it. He says, "This is a remarkable weapon. Oh, this is incredible. Incredible." And, how much would you be? How much would you be interested in selling this for?
How much would that go for in Janoon?
Oh, a specimen like this would be a bargain at 500 gold pieces.
It just kind of pauses at that.
Galibar will say, huh. How about 300?
300. 300. Oh. And he says, oh, it would. That is a wonderful bargain of a price. And as he starts to talk to you about that, a woman who looks to be of a similar age, a woman comes up to him, and she says, Majid, what are you doing? Hey, what would you do with that weapon? We need no such thing. We have everything and you cannot afford 300 gold. We have our children we must look after. Yeah, you cannot just waste your money. There is nobody who would buy that. It will take you a year to make 300 gold on sales of your weapons. What business have you with things like this? He says, yes, it is and she then turns to you and she puts this smile on her face and she says, sir, it is the weapon there is of beautiful craftsmanship, and I am certain is worth every copper of the 300. As my husband has said, it would sell for much more in the city of Junon. But we are but poor, and we do not have that kind of money. My husband cannot afford to spend an entire year's wages on a weapon that he would merely put on his wall and admire. Believe me, if he purchased that, he would love it so much he could not sell it.
Okay, how about this then? And he'll put away the mace, and he'll pull out a light hammer, which is also made out of
Galibar.
He'll say, I'll just give this to you.
And okay, so a light hammer.
Yes. It's essentially just a smaller version of a mace.
Right. And you hand it to him, and Majid looks at it. He says, "Oh, sir, I beg you. I am not worthy to accept such a gift. This is too beautiful." And then his wife says, "Majid, you fool! This is a great man. Are you going to turn down a gift from a great man? You will insult him that way?" And he says, "But Samira, my wife, we cannot afford to have. He is not asking you to buy it. He is offering this to you out of the goodness of his heart. And do not insult people. This is not the law of hospitality that you are raised to follow." And he says, "Okay, yes, my wife." And then he turns to you and he kind of apologetically, he says, "Thank you very much. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Is there anything that Munir can do for you?" I am your servant. Whatever you may ask, I will do. If it is in my power, I will do it for you.
Legit. Adamant reaches into his bag and he pulls out that +1 mace that he's had forever. Now, this mace I've had for a very long time. You're going to sell this. Yes. But it's worth at least twice the value of a normal mace.
And as you...
Galibar just looks at you and is like, you had to one-up me.
Well, no, he can keep yours. Mine he has to sell.
And when you pull this mace out, you guys know the way that I do things with magic weapons. It's like, doesn't matter how old it is, it always kind of looks like it's brand new, and it just has this sort of mystical sparkle to it. And as you pull it out, Munir, his eyes get wide, but his wife's eyes just really widen, and she says, "By all the dead gods, by all the powers of sand and wind and heat, I have never seen a thing so beautiful." And Majid says, This is not a gift for a humble merchant. This is a gift for a king."
No.
And
I expect you to sell this for at least double to triple the usual price.
And Samira says, "Husband, I think that the fates have smiled upon you this day. I think this is a sign that you will be a very successful merchant."
Adamant again reaches into his bag, and he pulls out one of his manuscripts written in common. Pulls it out. This weapon was made by one of the clerics from my home.
And you say, yeah, when you say cleric, they kind of give you this look like they're not quite sure what that means.
And Enka will go, "Holy man."
It's a holy man from my home. It is blessed with the power of my god. Just kind of slides the manuscript into their hands. Here's a bit of information.
Do I feel like you're like, welcome to the, whatever.
Welcome to the Church of Moradin.
Yes.
Galibar doing something for strategy. You're being a Jehovah's Witness.
Exactly. I just didn't want to quite say that because, PC and everything.
Have you heard of our Lord and Savior, Moradin?
I'm sorry, you just said here, and the whole vision was just you standing at the door, dressed up. Here, let me introduce you to the powers of our Lord and Savior. You don't have to pay me anything. You just need to convert.
No.
Seriously.
Sorry.
Okay.
You're not wrong.
I apologize.
You're
Too
not
many
wrong.
Jehovah's Witnesses up there. I'm sorry.
After the incident in Kamigawa, he's kind of like, I don't want people to worship me. This is where it came from.
Yeah. Okay.
But they don't have any gods here that they worship anymore, do they?
Exactly.
No.
Yeah, so it's not like they'd worship you as a god anyway, because it's just not something they do.
They have no idea.
He's not
Most of the common people have lost any concept of what even a god is, and it's only some of the people that are connected to the ancient stories that would even remember.
Yeah. He's not taking that chance anymore.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
But
Galibar did this for two reasons. One, to see how much these things are actually worth in this world. To see if we would have a backup plan for Engine Noon. We could disguise as merchants and just show off the 300 gold pieces worth of weapons and made out of metal that Galibar has. And two, to see necessarily how much money these merchants would typically have.
These merchants in this town would not have a whole lot. They are poor.
Yeah, this is essentially like walking into a village that is in a remote area of Faerun.
Yeah.
And so you're not gonna find a whole lot here.
Yeah.
And that costs very much. The gold piece limit of things you'll find here is quite low.
Yeah. From what I gathered, the weapons are worth essentially just take their price and add 2 zeros to it.
Basically, yeah. Basically, the value of iron here is about once it's worked into a weapon or armor form or something like that, is about 100 times what it would be in Toril.
Oh.
So
he's gonna be able, if he sells that light hammer, it's worth 200 gold.
Yeah. And realistically, if he sells it to somebody here, somebody who saves up a long time might be able to afford to pay him 50 gold for it, but 50 gold is probably more than he would make in a single transaction the entire year. Yeah. You know, it's like it would still be a huge windfall for him.
But your idea is a good one, is to posing as
yes. My 300 gold pieces, which is now 298 gold pieces worth of weapons, would be like 300.
Well, he said it would go for 500 in
the mace, which is worth 5 gold pieces.
Okay.
Which I did not give to him. My 298 gold pieces worth of weapons is worth 29,800 if I were to sell it in Janoon.
Yeah.
So we could go in as weapon merchants with, a wealthy merchant and his guardsman or whatever.
I mean, Adamant is technically a merchant.
Yeah.
Well, we're using this as a disguise.
Yeah, it's definitely a plan.
Yes.
Yeah.
It is a cunning plan. It can't possibly fail twice. Sorry.
Okay, so you leave Majid and Samira with a mundane hammer and a +1 mace, and they are both just flabbergasted.
And as the rest of them have left the shop, Enka stays behind a little bit and goes, hopefully this will bring prosperity and blessings upon your house. They both have very good hearts, but they sometimes get into a little bit of a competition amongst themselves. So be blessed, look upon them with favor, and try to make the best of your life with what they have given you.
Oh, these will be wonderful blessings, my lady. Please, and this is Samira. She says, "My name is Samira. I am wife of Majid, the blunt weapon merchant. If there is anything I can do for you, my lady, you must let me know. I am your servant. I am forever grateful to you.
I do not need a servant. However, a friend would be nice." And she goes, "My name is Enka, and I am a singer, a musician."
You're a singer.
Yes.
Oh.
So,
are you performing here in the village?
I don't know. I don't normally perform in front of people. My singing is usually meant for herds of animals. And she kind of blushes a little bit. So it's hard to explain. But say what?
And she gets a very puzzled look on her face, and it's a, when you talk about singing for herds of animals, it's very puzzled. And make me an insight check.
Okay. She does say, she's kind of like, well, when I mean that, I mean I help to call the herds in from the pastures or from feeding or whatever. But
yeah, this is a desert plain.
I know.
They don't have pastures here.
Well, but you do have herds and flocks of animals, don't you? That eat on scrub like goats and whatnot?
Camels.
Or camels, even then.
Camels are going to be the big one.
Well, they have those, what was like camel horses or combined, like that we saw earlier.
Yeah. When you talk about singing to draw the herds in, her look of puzzlement turns into a look of abject terror, as though calling herds of animals in would be the absolutely most terrifying thing she could even think of.
She kind of looks at her confused. Well, where I'm from, we have a lot of grass and trees and stuff, and we let our herd animals out to eat their fill. And it's just a very old thing that's been done in my tribe for many, many generations, where animals seem to be attracted to beautiful voices, and they will come and usually try to follow where that voice is and come home for the night. It's a way of gathering them more or less in one location before you take them behind protective barriers for the night. Does that make sense? It's not like I'm going to. It's not like we call down evil or deadly animals to our tribe. It's our herd animals, the like goats and chickens and geese, and she just knows at this point in time she's just completely lost these people.
And cows.
And she says that is very strange. Of course, there are small places in the world where there are these forests that you speak of. Mm-hmm. And there are animals that live there, but the only animals that are safe are those that we have as beasts of burden.
Right.
The animals that would be out of the village and out of the city, they may be attracted to voices, but only so they could eat the singer.
Oh, Do you so you have your beasts of burden, you have your camels. What did they call them? Do we know?
No, they didn't give you a name.
But she says, so if, let's say, you have a time where your scrub or things that they eat has flourished some, okay? And you take them out to an area where they can eat their fill or hang out and enjoy, life when they're not being used as beasts of burden. But it is time you bring them in every night. But some of them may give you trouble. By my gifts, it just allows me to calm them and their fears and bring them in safely to where they can be protected for the night. That's kind of what I mean. Does it make sense? She's still like, does that make sense at all?
And she says, yes, the only beasts of burden or the only safe animals that I know of are the camel yaks that we have.
Yes, those. So, if somebody has a lot of them that they use or whatever, but during the time they're not being used, they are allowed to go out and try to find things to eat in a general area. I use my talents when they're done and it's getting close to evening where we want to bring them in to protect them. That's where my talents come in. So then I sing to them and they are drawn to me, and then I can bring them in for the evening to keep them safe. Instead of having to chase them down.
I understand. I understand. There are animals out in the great wastes of the Tablelands and beyond, in the great Silt Sea, that they are drawn to voices, which is why it is not wise to talk when you are traveling.
Right. No, mine is more for domestic, like your camel yaks, for things like that. Not for bringing creatures to you. Just it's meant for helping gather up animals that are grazing together.
Okay. Yes, it is said that have you met our village leader Sindbad?
We did, didn't we? Or we were just told about
it? That's who we were just talking to.
Okay, yes, I have met him.
Yes. Well, it is said that when Sindbad was a young man, he was part of a caravan, and the caravan leader got careless, and one night he began singing at the campfire, and that is when the silt drake came that Sindbad had to slay. Unfortunately, most of the caravan animals and about half the people had already been eaten by the silt drake by the time Sindbad slew it. But yes.
Okay, I that is a very good lesson for me to know now than to find out later. But
yes, it would be very bad to find that out.
Yes. So I will endeavor to make sure that I remember that when I are they drawn to just music, or are they just drawn to singing voices?
Or
just noise.
Mostly, I think it is that it is intelligent prey are their favorite meal.
Ah.
So the The language and the singing are evidence of intelligent prey.
Yes.
This is what they like to feast on.
Yeah, pretty much. So she nods and looks after the others that have already kind of wandered off, and she's like, I better go catch up with my friends. It was very nice to meet you, and hopefully we will cross paths again.
Oh, yes, Samira, yes, Lady Enka, I would be very happy to be your friend while you are here. I hope that perhaps at some point we will get a chance to hear you sing inside.
Kind of blushes a little bit.
Inside the village.
Yes. Thank you. And then she runs off to go catch up with the other guys.
As soon as Galibar left, he went over to the blade cellar. The blade cellar.
Oh, God.
I can't wait here.
This time he is actually looking to like get something, but he wants their bigger blades.
Okay. Where the? Oh no, I'm sorry. I was looking for this. Gotta go back to this generator. Okay. So you go over to the blade cellar, and the blade cellar stall, or shop, because these shops have the look of things that at one time were probably temporary stalls, but they stayed in the same place for so long that eventually they, just more or less a permanent building grew up around them. And then attached to that building became the living quarters for the merchants. And so this one appears to be run by two women, whether they are sisters or whatnot, you don't know. But their names, so blade merchants, are Naifa and Nasira.
Galibar will walk up and say, what would you say is your finest wares here?
And they say, "Oh, all of our blades are of very good quality. What type of blade are you looking for? Do you prefer the heavy long blades like the two-handed swords, or do you prefer the axe or the short sword? What kind of blade are you looking for?"
Well, I typically use an axe, like the two-handed axe, but I am interested in the heavier blades as well.
Oh, well, we have this wonderful weapon here, and they take you over to a table, and they have something that basically is the size of a claymore. It's like it's like a big two-handed sword, and so it would be like a great sword. But this great sword is slightly different in terms of the shape of it from what you're used to in Waterdeep, whereas most great swords have like a broader blade that's very long. This is a slightly longer blade, but it's slightly thinner, and it's got a two sides cutting edge, or both edges of the blade will cut, so it's a two-edged sword, and then about the last 2 feet of the blade actually are serrated on both cutting blades, and they say this is a blade that was commissioned for us a year ago, and unfortunately the buyer wound up running afoul of a giant tortoise before the blade was finished. We decided to finish the blade in honor of his memory, but we have not had a buyer for it since then.
Well, how much does it cost?
It is 50 gold.
50 gold.
Do you mind if I take a look at that before you purchase it?
I guess you can. I am very interested in purchasing this blade. You mentioned the two-handed axes? Do you have any of those to show?
Yes, we do. We have some of these over here, and as you walk over, and start looking at that, Galibar, you have kind of this grumbling voice in your head. What need do you have of another two-handed axe?
To hang on my wall.
Oh, well, as long as it will be a decoration and not something that you be in your hands in battle. I rather enjoy fighting with you.
You are the only axe I will use against my living enemies. Or undead enemies.
Oh, that's fun.
Oh, that is good to hear.
And he'll follow the merchants to the...
Okay. The great axe, the great axe that they have is a typical two-handed great axe. Actually, they have two different types of great axe. They're both two-handed. One of them has the double blades, the way Willow Roar does. Another one has an oversized arced blade that's curved like almost a half moon on one side, and then on the other side is a big curved bone spike that looks like you could just like rupture right through armor or somebody's skull with it or something like that. And so it slices on one side and punctures on the other side.
Galibar looks at that one and he grins and says, yes, I believe I will be purchasing that greatsword, and I'll purchase this great axe as well, the one with the spike.
And the two women, they look at each other, and they're the one who's talking to you seems to be in more control of her reactions, but the other one, she's like very excited because you get the impression that this is like a big sale for them.
Oh.
And the woman talking to you says, "Oh, with these axes, it normally sells for 30 gold."
Okay. Now, I hear that weapons made out of metal, such as iron, are very... They cost quite a bit here. I have, for trade. How about these? And he'll pull off the... He'll take off the bandolier that has 5 daggers. And he'll show the daggers to them.
Okay, so you want to make a purchase of that's worth 80 gold, and you have a bandolier that has 5 daggers. Each one of those daggers is worth about 200 gold.
Yes, Galibar says, "I am feeling quite generous today."
And then any of you who are here witnessing this transaction, including you, Galibar, any of you can make an insight check to gauge their reaction. Hey, welcome, Ivy. I thought I noticed you pop in. Well, you know what is really fitting? It's really fitting that the 2 female characters, Elora and Enka, are the ones that have the high insight on this, because when he makes an offer of this bandolier of 5 iron daggers for 2 bone weapons, they look at each other and they kind of cut their eyes at Galibar, and the expression that registers to Elora and Enka is one of being highly scandalized. It's like, in their mind, the only reason he would offer that much to purchase those 2 weapons is if he was interested in a lot more than just the weapons themselves.
Okay, meaning that who is there selling this stuff to him?
It's presumably a pair of sisters, human females.
So Enka will then give them a look, just kind of look and give them just kind of a little hand gesture that means just kind of hold off for a moment. And then she kind of tugs on Galibar's elbow, clears her throat and says, "Galibar, my dear, could you step back for a moment and talk to me?"
Okay.
And so she pulls him back a little bit and she goes, "My dear Galibar, by offering that much, you are making these lovely sisters uncomfortable, because they do not feel they are getting a sense perhaps that you're wanting to buy more than just what's going on. Basically, you're perhaps hoping to vie for their personal beings, evening pleasures, that kind of thing, you know."
But the other person didn't.
Because you are dealing with a man
Oh.
that is
Okay.
married, a husband who is married. These are women, and they don't. Sometimes they do not perceive things like a man would. You know, so I would just say, be willing to pay for whatever it is you wish to purchase, or allow them to purchase at a relatively decent price, whatever it is that you want to sell to them, and keep it simple. You're kind of making it
the one dagger, not 5.
Because because the way you're coming across, even though you are trying to be gallant and give people perhaps maybe an edge up, a leg up, whatever, these ladies are taking it like you're wanting to do. You're wanting to get something extra for what you're doing because of. She's kind of stumbling just a little bit, like, I'm not quite sure how to make him understand what he's doing is coming off as wrong.
You guys are from Waterdeep, and you know.
I mean, I know, but I'm just trying to, because I know if anybody overhears, I don't want them to be scandalized. You know.
Right. Yeah.
Galibar will say, "I think I understand." And he will go over and say, I'm sorry if what I said was misunderstood. I am simply trying to be a generous... I am merely a tourist. I am from a different place. I am merely trying to help the shops around this area. I figured,
He sees him struggling a little bit, steps in and goes, sisters, he does not mean anything by this. He is just simply trying to be gallant and perhaps help you in his own way. He doesn't mean anything bad by this. I have traveled with him for some time, and he is one of the most honorable individuals that I have had the pleasure to meet. It wouldn't even occur to him to have other thoughts than just simply the purchase and selling of, the items here. Nothing beyond the physical items would ever have crossed his mind.
Yes.
Does that make sense to you?
What she said.
and they look at you, and they look at Enka, and their look softens, and then they smile, and they say, "Oh, well, thank you for that." And they look back at Galibar, and they say, You are a very, very generous, kind sir. But the one of them will say, Naifa will say, I am Naifa, and I managed to escape from slavery in the place where I was being held in Junoon. Some 10 years ago, and my sister Nasira only escaped about 5 years ago, and we still have many memories of the ways that people would try to flatter the women in the city. Our apologies. You look strange to us, but we did not realize that you are not from this place.
Adamant takes a moment from inspecting the serrations, making sure they're solid, reaches out, and said, he is mostly harmless.
Galibar says, if the 5 weapons are too much, how about just 1 or 2 of them?
And they look at you, and then they look at each other, and they nod, and then they say, "Oh, one of those fine steel weapons will be, one of those fine iron weapons will be more than sufficient. It is a very generous offer on your part. Thank you very much."
Galibar will say, "You are welcome," and he'll pass the dagger over to them, hilt first, so they can grab the hilt.
Okay.
And
they take it and they look at it and they say, "Oh, this is such marvelous craftsmanship. It's beautiful."
Yes. And I hope that while we are here, I might be able to do something about this slave business that I hear is happening. I would hate for that to go on with when I could possibly do something to stop it.
and they look at you, and they say, it is the dream of every slave that one day the slavery will end, but slavery is as much a part of our world as the desert is. I do not know that anyone can do anything about it.
Yes, it is a shame.
Well,
We can only hope to make progress then.
that would be wonderful. Thank you very much. Most generous visitors. And they take you all in with that.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
Adam,
the weapons that I'm purchasing, so it's just a bone great axe, and what do I call the other one?
A great sword. A bone great axe and a bone great sword. Mechanically, they have the same damage characteristics as a great sword and a great axe. Just cosmetically, they look a little bit different.
Yep. Added to Galibar's collection of weapons.
Okay.
For him to put in his one-day hoard.
All right. Okay. Well, that's cool.
Joe.
Bless you.
how?
All right. I think that what we should do now, because I have 14 after the hour, we should go ahead and take our break now. And we come back, we'll see if anybody wants to do anything else shopping wise, or whether we want to transition over to learning about the new spellcasting method. So viewers, thank you guys for joining us today. We are in a brand new plane of the world of Rukh, which is based on the Arabian Nights expansion from Magic the Gathering. I am going to be bringing the music back up while we go on break. The sounds behind our voices and the music today are all part of Sirenscape, different Sirenscape sound sets. This particular one that we have been on is from the classic adventure town sounds, and then the accursed sands is what we are getting our music from, and this is camp music. So I'll put the timer up, and I'll be back in a few minutes. Players, remember, you can hang out here and chat on the stream, or you can go to the off-stream voice channel if you wish, during our break. And I'll be back in a few minutes.
Adamant, the Jehovah's Witness.
The Moradin's witness.
Yep. Well, part of his duty is to spread the religion. If he can find people receptive to it.
Adamant doesn't want to be called a god, but he wouldn't mind being called like a freaking pastor.
That's different. He's not a pastor.
You're the Pope of Moradin.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Not yet. That's maybe after he retires from adventuring, which is a long way off.
Aren't you a level 10 cleric? So you got the ability that's like you ask your god for something?
No, I don't. That's one of the things I gave up.
Okay.
I opt out of it too.
Because Adamant's kind of the belief that if he has to ask for something, then he's fucking up. I kept a higher level.
The one you get up to level 20?
Yeah. I kind of built his custom class around classes that he gets. So most of it is where he doesn't get anything from one class to the other. I've only got 2 classes because it was hard enough balancing 2. I was going to try for 3.
Yeah, cleric and fighter, right?
Yeah. Easily overpowered. So yeah, we were sitting here. I'm in the middle of one of my lines, and Minnie's up on my shoulder, and she falls backwards, and she's decided that nope, I'm not going to fall. I'm going to hold on.
I'm going to hold on to dear old dad.
That was uncomfortable. She still fell, which makes it worse.
So what all happened yet? Is it just that we got transported here, and that's basically what all happened yet?
We got transported here. We sat around. We talked to the guy for a little bit, and then learned that those of us with magic abilities were going to learn how to use.
Sorry.
We're going to learn how to use obsidian orbs, like a spell focus, and then we decided that we were all going to go look around this little village and watch a pissing match between Galibar and
Adamant doesn't even see it that way. That's what's funny. Galibar's like, you just had to wanna. I don't understand what you mean by that.
Galibar was gonna offer them Galibar was trying to determine what the actual cost of our iron or our metal weapons would be in this plane, because he had 300 gold pieces worth of weaponry that were all symbol weapons.
So that's 30,000.
Yes, here they were worth 30,000 gold pieces.
Sorry, 3,000.
Oh my god!
No, it would be 30,000.
Yeah, 30.
Yeah, it's freaking ridiculous. So now, if our original plan goes through, we can be freaking merchants.
Which isn't much of a stretch for Adamant, because he is one.
Yeah, and Galibar's pretty charismatic. But yeah, we can also be merchants. And I gave the bludgeoning weapon master a throwing hammer. It's called a light hammer, which does like 1d4 damage. But it's worth 200 gold pieces on this play. I just gave it to him for free. And then Adamant just comes over here and gives him a freaking +1 mace.
So it turns out this is a really good place to sell my seminar.
Not
the one that Adamant made you, I would hope.
Not until we get to
Not
Janoon.
the Yakala, whatever. And not that scimitar either. It's the other one that she has.
Yeah, it would be good to sell it in Janoon, not here, because they don't have enough money here.
Fair.
Sorry, Adamant, I gotta sell your gift, but
No, she's not going to sell either one of your guys' gifts. Don't even. But she is going to sell that tea set.
What tea set?
And I love how everyone else speaks up besides him. Wow. No, I'm not going to sell anything.
He's been like absolutely silent.
I know I've been silent just because I've been doing stuff ever since I got home. So, as you can probably hear me cooking.
Leia, who's Okay, must be on break.
Yep, he must be dead.
Yeah. My bards on Tuesday night destroyed a pyramid. It was fun stuff.
You destroyed a what?
Pyramid. He kept casting shatter within a pyramid. Just tore down all kinds of walls.
And I killed like 20 mummies.
It's funny.
Wait, you guys already fought without me? Rude.
No.
No. In the Tuesday game, me and Chris did.
So I was about to say, I want to kick some ass too. Like, come on.
No, if it was us, if it was this game, Adamant would be the one. Mummies. No. Firewall. I never had a mummy, and I don't want.
I've never had a mummy, but I don't want one. That's cute.
It was the exact opposite of what my bard said. Ooh, mummies? I want a mummy. No, Ma. What do you mean? They're undead mummies, not mommies. Oh. Can I still have one? Sigh.
Yeah, no matter what, Ebon, with his father being the god of death, wouldn't have let you keep one no matter what.
Ow. Huh.
Would you like to know what I'm going to use Find Greater Steed for, Chris?
Yes.
Don't tell anybody else it's going to be a dragon now.
Remember
what?
that people can listen to you.
Oh, no, this is for another game.
I know.
Yeah, I want to do it. I want to get a Dragonelle for Galibar, since it's also a Find Greater Steed option. But that's like 4 levels away.
I made a joke with that. I'm a news. Maybe I could summon a dragon blood. He's like, no. Law's disturbing enough as it is. Man, that'd be so fun.
It's 3 levels away for Galibar. 4th level spells.
All right, everybody. Welcome back.
Well,
I have no idea
Okay,
if we even have Oyahusa with us anymore.
he's in the chat.
Hello?
Hello.
Oyahuta!
Dude, okay.
I go into the Discord.
There's the
Oh,
Oyahusa.
there he is.
There he is. All right. Hopefully everybody had a good break. Okay, so is there anything that anybody else wanted to do with some of these merchants? Anything in particular? Any
I was going
places
to
you
look
wanted
at looking possibly for a place that sells books or parchment or whatever. I'm going to probably have to take notes with everything that's going on.
Oh, yes. Yes, you can find. So you're looking for.
Well, I
Are
want
you
to see
looking
what
for
they have for books.
blank
but-
parchment, or are you looking for written materials?
Both. Probably
Okay.
first would be to find what they have for blank parchment. If they've got any type of journals or anything, or if they've got, just see what they've got.
Yes, they do have a shop where they sell books and scrolls and parchment. Actually, the parchment here is less like parchment that you're familiar with in Toril, and it's more like papyrus. So it's more, it's more like paper that's made from reeds, and it is a little bit rougher in texture, but still fine for writing with a quill and ink. But it's slightly rougher in texture than what you're used to, and it's a little bit more expensive than what you're used to paying. Basically, I don't even know if in the. Oh yeah, there we go. So parchment normally in the player's handbook is 1 silver piece. The papyrus, the same sheet of papyrus, will cost you 2 silver pieces. So it's basically double the book cost. You can still get five sheets of parchment for a gold, if you want to.
Okay.
So however many you think you want to need, just 5 per gold is the going rate here.
Okay. So I'll
Then
go ahead.
go ahead.
Nope.
No.
Go
You
ahead.
first.
I was just going to say, do they have any in a form of like a small journal, like a book that's already been formed?
Yes, we'll say that they have 10 full sheets of parchment that have been bound and folded over with some covers, and that if you buy it in that form, it will be 3 gold.
Okay. So
And you can get several. You can get one of those booklets, or you can get several of them for 3 gold each.
Okay. I'll pick up 2 of them.
Okay, and regardless of how detail oriented or how fly by the seat of my pants you think I am as a DM, you can use that narratively, and I'll let you decide how much you can fit into 10 pages worth of things. I'm not going to say, oh, you've taken notes for 3 sessions when now you need to buy another notebook. It's like, no. It's like, whatever.
Okay.
You decide how long that'll last you.
Okay.
Does he write small and neat, or does he like write big and sprawling, or is it all calligraphy? And
What about any type of books?
Yes, there are books. There are books of history. There are books of folk tales. There
The one
are
right there. Folk tales.
okay, books of folk tales.
Yep. Keeping
Okay.
in with the whole Tamayo and
Okay.
everything.
Okay. All right. You can find there's 3 sizes. There's a small book of folk tales. There is a slightly thicker book of folk tales, and there is a rather heavy big tome of folk tales. The small one will cost 5 gold pieces. The medium-sized one will cost 10 gold pieces, and the really big one will cost 20 gold pieces.
Now, how big is the big one? We're talking like big in size or like just thick?
It is in the size of the book. Think of the cover size. Think of something the size of the player's handbook, the D&D player's handbook, hard copy. And then in terms of its thickness, maybe the binding might be about 2 or 3 inches thick.
Okay.
So it's a pretty hefty tome.
All right. I'll go ahead and pay the money for that one.
For the big one?
Yep.
Okay.
Gotta add to my library.
Now, what that will get you is and you need to write this down because I will forget it, and I'm going to rely on you to remember it.
Let me grab pen and paper. Okay. Hang on.
Well, I would put it on your character sheet.
But I don't have my... Okay, go ahead.
Okay. While you are in this plane, you will get advantage on any checks that you make to, things that might be like historical lore or anecdotal knowledge about either different creatures or different places that you go or things like that. So it'll give you a bonus. Basically the kind of stuff that you would find in a folk tale. Where it's probably embellished, but it's probably also based on a grain of reality.
Truth, yeah. Okay.
So this plane's a Volo.
Oh God. All right. Well, anyway, I will. I'll go ahead and I've written that down. I'll put it in my character sheet here in a little bit. But, so she smiles and hands over the money, and then looks at the others, kind of like, okay, all right, whenever you are.
I look for something.
Oh shoot! I was gonna...
Okay, so Adamant is doing some shopping, so you may have a chance to do something else.
I need to find about 500 gold pieces worth of incense, and see if I can find 8 ivory strips worth about 50 gold each.
Okay. Finding 500 gold pieces worth of incense, that's going to take several... we don't have to do it all at one time, but that's going to take several days of you scouring multiple different shops here in town. You're not going to find that all in one place because no merchants here are wealthy enough to have that much of it in one place at one time. So we'll just say that over the course of a few days, you can find that. You can probably find one. With each day you go out looking for it in the village, you can probably find one piece of ivory that's worth 50 gold per day. So,
have a good idea of how we can find those candles. The sense. Just go into a big, huge pyramid, like a Mansionaire's pyramid, and just steal all the candles. There we go.
No, I need candles. I need incense, not candles.
Yes, but like the instant candle thingies, they probably have some because they really like a smelly house or pyramid. Let's see. It'll play out.
Yes, instead of buying them from a shop, you should totally steal from a noble.
That's an easy way to get our hands cut off in this reality.
If they can catch us.
If they can catch you, yes. Okay.
So while he was out looking for that, I was looking to see if we had, strangely enough, if they even had a place where they sold musical instruments.
Oh, yes. There's a little shop where you can find some musical instruments, and as you might expect, they're all rather simple. Most of the instruments are made of bone, and there are some plucked instruments. There are one or two instruments that are made of wood, and those are extremely expensive. Everything else that's made out of bone is relatively, normal priced for a musical instrument. There's a lot of things like little flutes, and there's like a small little 4-stringed harp. It's a different design than harps that you have seen in other places.
Anything that I'm really maybe drawn to, or something that just looks so out of place that it just, or not out of place, but different than what I'm used to, that I'm kind of like, ooh, I gotta have it, kind of thing.
Okay. Let me see.
Flute would be something that's made out of bone pretty often.
Yeah. I'm not sure if Enka would be familiar with a pan flute, but there's probably...
Yes.
Okay. There's... there is an instrument that is made out of wood, so it's one of the more expensive instruments, and it is now I don't know if Heather knows what these are, but Enka would probably recognize it. It is a crumhorn.
A crumhorn.
Yes.
It sounds familiar.
It is an instrument that if you think of a bassoon, okay, think of something that is not as large in diameter as a bassoon, but is about as long as a bassoon. And then
yes, I've seen these. Okay, sorry.
And then Okay, yeah. And it kind of looks like a J or a backwards J, depending on how you pronounce it. But it's about as long as a bit narrower and about as long as a bassoon is.
Okay. All right. I think I'll probably go with that one.
The crumhorn?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. And that is, let me take a look at let's see. Is there okay, yes. The crumhorn is 150 gold.
Okay. Let's empty my pockets a bit, but
Yeah.
I'll go ahead and do that.
Yeah, remember it's made of wood.
Yeah. Okay. I think that's about it. That's all I can do.
Okay. Anybody else have any?
You said it was 200,
shopping?
right?
150.
Oh, 150. Okay.
I have something that I want Elora to do. I'm not sure if you saw it in chat or not. I want to express it. Is that she really wants to go and she would be listening to the two possible sisters, whenever Galibar and Enka were talking to them. She would be kind of keeping an eye on them and listening to them talk about their ways of slavery here.
Yes.
So after Enka and Galibar kind of step away to go look around for other items and go shopping again, Elora will kind of give them a moment to realize she's there, and Elora will say, I know that things may be a lot challenging to think of, but please do note that there is some humanity in men.
Oh, well, there are... Yes, we know there are many fine men here in the hidden village. We all, most of us share a common lot. Either ourselves or our parents were born into slavery or were captured into slavery, and we have all escaped. So we all know that we look out for each other here. Just sometimes when we see outsiders and they do something unexpected, it sometimes reminds us of darker times.
Try and chuckle and give him a little bit of a laugh and says, who needs men, right? Woman power.
And they will smile and they will look at you and say, oh, well, yes, what is it that they say about men? You cannot live with them, and well, it is sometimes more difficult to live without them, but sometimes that difficulty is worthwhile. And they giggle.
Kind of chuckle, and then she'll turn around and ask them, saying, well, if you don't mind talking about it, do you know who runs the slavery business over here? And do you believe in justice?
Oh, well, in Rukh, slavery is a way of life in most places. Among the caravans, it is usually the caravan owner that also owns the slaves. But in the cities like Junoon, it is almost always the sorcerer king that is at the head of the slave trade. In Junoon, it is particularly bad. From the stories that we hear, King Suleiman has conscripted all of the slaves and has even enslaved some of the freemen to work on his ziggurat project. He is a mad king.
Laura kind of like smile a little bit, even though they could probably easily tell that she's bothered by it. And she'll kind of go up to the woman's hands, knowing that she's visibly upset, and says, "Well, I know you guys are out of it now, and it's none of your guys' concerns, but I promise that something will be done about it." And she'll kind of like lean down and give their hands like a little bit of a kiss. With a little smile, as she'll kind of leave them to be, and yeah.
Thank you, my lady. And they look at each other, and they smile pleasantly to you, and they puzzle over these strangers that seem to think they can do something about changing the lot of the slaves, and maybe there's a little glimmer of hope in their hearts now from having talked to several of you. Okay, anything else in terms of shopping? Okay, so we will advance to the next day. You have a pleasant evening there at Sindbad's. Your quarters are, they feel not quite as luxurious as the quarters that you have at Lady Silverhand's estate, but they are definitely comfortable. You're not finding yourself going, "Oh gosh, I wish they had this or that." It's like you feel like you have everything that you need and plenty of it. There's a nice selection of blankets and some comforters and stuff in case the night gets a little chilly for anyone, because it is a desert, and you have those extremes of daytime heat and nighttime chill. And then there's furnishings. So you have like little tables and chairs, and those chairs are padded and comfortable. The beds are nice. You're not sure if they are feather mattresses, but they are very comfortable mattresses. They're definitely not like filled with sand or anything. They're very comfortable mattresses and pillows and everything. And the fabrics are fine fabrics. And there's plenty of space in each of these rooms as well, because Sindbad is apparently he's got a large house, either because he's for some reason very wealthy, or because he is held in very high esteem. One of the two, or maybe both. And so the night passes. Breakfast is, more of the same, simple fare, but plenty of it. And then you will meet some people who will give you an opportunity to start learning a little bit about psionic spellcasting. And speaking of psionic spellcasting, if you look in your journals, and you do a little search in your journal, you should find a handout on psionic spellcasting. And I wanted to make it a handout because it should be a reference that you have a chance to look at. I didn't want to bore you by talking about a bunch of exposition, but This is a simplified, and believe me, it is simplified. Not all of you probably have had the pleasure of playing 2nd edition D&D, but it's a simplified system of psionics from based on D&D, 2nd edition. And what I've done is I've basically created a system whereby you can convert the number of spell slots that you have into a quantity of psionic points. And that becomes the power source that you use to cast your spells. And one of the things that this means that you are not limited by the amount of spell slots you have at any given level, but you are limited by the number of PSPs that you have in your total pool. And there's a table down towards the bottom that tells you how many PSPs a spell of a certain level will cost when you cast a spell, and how many PSPs you add to your character's psionic pool based on what your normal memorized spell load is. And then I have an example from a 10th level wizard. And I purposely chose a wizard because none of you are wizards. And I wanted to do something that was a different class than anyone, so you kind of see how it works.
Well, we know who the big old boss is. It's a wizard.
Yeah.
And he's a sorcerer king, so I assumed he was a sorcerer.
And where do we find this?
In your journal. So in Roll20, you go to the journal, which is the little folded up newspaper over at the right hand side. Should be the second icon at the top next to the chat icon. And
Like, is it in the Arabian Nights folder? And what's the name?
Oh gosh, okay.
Look look below.
It's under level 10.
Yeah,
okay.
It's in a level 10 folder, and it's called Psionic Spellcasting.
Just 1 second.
With a P. Okay, so yeah, this is the. There's 2 tables in here. The first table is about, and this is something we will use during level 10. Chris and Pete, you guys already hit the nail on the head from something I said last time, that this will be something you may choose to continue doing beyond level 10, and your chances of success and your chances of focus survival will increase every time you gain a level. But your baseline is what you see in this table here. So if you want to use psionics to cast a cantrip, there's a 95% chance of success and a 0% chance of focus, your focus getting destroyed. And then if you fail that percentage success, there are consequences in the final column. And if you fail at casting a cantrip, there's really no mechanical effect, so nothing that affects your character's stats, but there's just, narratively, you just have a slight feeling of dizziness.
All right.
And then the chance of success decreases slightly with every level of spell that increases. I think right now everybody has at maximum probably 5th level spells. So for now, you don't have to worry about the 6th through 9th. So that means that for any spell in your repertoire, you have at worst an 84% chance of success and a 75% chance that the focus will survive. And then if you fail at casting a 5th level spell, the casting failure penalty is you lose 2 of your hit die that you would normally use for recovering hit points. So if you're a 10th level character and you fail casting a 5th level spell, then when it comes to hit die available for hit point recovery, you have only 8 hit die instead of 10. And that, of course, those hit die recharge just the same way normally. Normal hit die recharge after a long rest. And then if the if your focus doesn't survive when casting a 5th level spell, your focus needs to be replaced, and you will also gain 2 levels of exhaustion. So there are some consequences for failure, but the consequences for failure of doing this are minor compared to the consequences of what happens if let's say you're in the city and the king detects that you have cast an arcane spell, or if you are out in the desert and one of the elemental powers determines that you have cast an arcane spell.
Makes sense.
And then there's actually below that table, we talk a little bit about how we go about doing the training. Okay, it's basically like a 1 character skills challenge, and you can as a group do all of these at the same time, or if you want to do these individually, we can do them individually. Let's see. Okay. A day of training consists of 5 ability checks. And your ability check is whatever class, whatever ability score your class uses for spellcasting. So that should be one of your better abilities if you're a spellcaster.
Yeah.
And then you make 5 ability checks, and if you succeed on 3 or more of the 5 ability checks, then you make some progress towards mastering psionic spellcasting. And once you succeed 3 or more 5 ability checks 3 days in a row, you then are able to use psionics as a power source for casting your spells. And until then, you lack sufficient mastery of psionics to power your spells by that method.
All right. Well,
yes.
I don't see a problem with everybody doing it at the same time, unless everybody else.
Okay. Yeah, and the DC of the ability check is equivalent to the character's level plus the highest level spell that you can cast. So I think that for all of you, do all of you have access to 5th level spells, or do some of you only have access to 4th level spells at this point?
Galibar has 3rd level.
Okay, so Galibar, the DC for you is only 13. But the DC, let's say, for
I have
Adamant
level
would be...
spells.
Yeah, the DC for Adamant would be 15. Because Galibar, your highest level spells are 3rd. Does anybody else have their highest level lower than 5th?
Hmm.
Oh, he's not dead. Slaves didn't take him yet.
I think I can only... I don't remember how we did mine. I might be only be able to do 3rd level spells right now.
Okay. So then your DC on your ability check would then be 13, or if you have a 4th level spell, it would be 14. So, and the level of the spell is obviously whatever level it is in the book. So, all right. So if you guys are ready,
Maybe.
are you guys ready for a day of training, or do you want some?
I'm ready. I'm just gonna roll 5 things.
Okay, your trainer for the day is actually going to be one of the dwarves who is accounted a very accomplished spellcaster, and this dwarf is named Sarakara. Okay. Okay, so Sarakara is your trainer, and Sarakara will say, "Oh, wonderful! You all have your focuses.
Adamant will pull one out.
Very good. And I was told that 2 of you have items that are already made of obsidian."
Yes, Galibar pulls out Willow Roar.
Oh, that is a beautiful weapon. Oh, and you say that head is made of solid obsidian?
Yes.
And it does not shatter when you strike your enemies with it?
No.
It's very reinforced.
Oh, it must be indeed.
It was made in a volcano.
Oh, that is something indeed. And who was the other one that had the obsidian item?
Adamant kind of gestures at Oyo.
Ah, okay. May I saw somebody saying earlier that they were having problems with their microphone.
That was Elora.
Oh, okay.
It
All
was
right.
me.
I thought maybe it was.
What about me?
Okay. Somebody was talking to you. One of the NPCs was talking to you, and we weren't hearing anything from you.
I thought he said he looked over at OU. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Well, she was asking who else had an obsidian item, because she had heard that two of you had an obsidian item that they wanted to use as a focus. And Galibar.
I have one.
Okay. Is it also part of your weapon, or is it a different object?
It just built into my weapon, yes.
Would
you like to see it?
Oh, yes. I am more concerned just with the volume of the obsidian, whether it is a small chip of it or whether it is a large component like your friend's axe head.
I'm not entirely sure. And he's like, talks to Tatsumasa, and he's like, well, are you going to be shy today or not?
Oh, well, I would have thought that just by looking, you could tell that the fire in the blade was from the purest obsidian.
How so?
Oh, I am disappointed in you. You spend such time caring for your weapon. You polish the blade and make sure that there is not a spot of dirt or any blood that gets dried onto the surface. But you always do this in the evening, in the torchlight. You never do it out in the sunlight where you can get a true look at the majesty of the way the full daylight refracts through the obsidian of my blade. You disappoint me, Oyohusa.
Well, it's not like you're very forthcoming about the history of yourself.
Oh, I am hurt.
How dare you not notice how pretty I am?
Elora kind of turned to the trader and kind of whispered to them, like, don't worry, he's just thinking very heavily about this. As Oyusa is just probably just staring at Tatsumasa.
Oyusa, he'll reach back and he'll slowly pull Tatsumasa out.
And as you withdraw the blade, Sarakara, she has this a little intake of breath, and she says, "Oh, that is a beautiful weapon indeed. And yes, that blade looks like very pure obsidian." And she looks back at Adamant and says, "That is reinforced too. It does not shatter."
It will not shatter, but it takes quite a bit to shatter that kind of blade. Believe it or not.
Well, it is a marvelous looking weapon. I certainly hope it is as durable as it is beautiful. Well, yes. I think both of those will suffice just fine. Now, you may find that initially for the two of you, you may find that it will help if you hold the blade of your axe or your sword while you practice the focus, or you may not. It is up to you. If you are very comfortable with this weapon and you have an affinity with it, then that may suffice. But otherwise, if you would like, you may place it on your lap, rest a hand on it while we go through the exercises.